Welcome to the Family Banking Blueprint podcast. This show is for women who put family first, value their faith, and work hard, yet they were never shown how to multiply their money without sacrificing their lives. This isn't about the hustle or the get rich quick. It's about opportunity, decisions, and building a family bank that buys you time, flexibility, options, and family adventures. Here we talk about real estate, passive income, and the beliefs that come even before the first investment. Let's talk about what that looks like. Hi guys, welcome back to the Family Banking Blueprint podcast. Hey, since last week, I'm always thinking about what kind of light can I shed and what kind of conversations have I had and what just comes up that might be applicable to you guys that'll bless you and just give you a takeaway that maybe you can go take action on. And today I was talking to somebody about opportunities, and they've recently had a shift in their world and things have changed in their life, and there's kind of a new season happening, a restful season, a new adventure that they are excited about. They've sacrificed a lot to get where they're at and to save and to build. And she said to me today, she said, I feel guilty that I'm not out there buying investments and layering on the homes and buying more rental properties, but I just don't really want to. And I said to her, investing, you always want to be open-minded. Don't never say never, but if you're taking a break and kind of exploring a new season, you don't have to feel guilty for not being out there buying investments and doing the hustle thing. Like, lean into it, figure out your new season, and don't make any emotional decisions. Don't decide not to. And don't decide to, right? I think sometimes we hear the outside world speak so much about what we should be doing that we feel guilty when we're not doing that thing. And we hear people who are ahead of us, or it always drives me crazy, the how many doors I own conversation, because just because you own a lot of doors doesn't mean that your portfolio cash flows well. And it can mean you have a lot of stress and a lot of debt. It doesn't, the number of doors that you have is not what determines your success. So I wanted to talk today about one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make with money is using emotional math instead of real math. And so they will see an opportunity and they will get excited emotionally. Maybe it reminds them of something when they were young. I see people fall in love with houses because it reminds them of a home that they had when they were young. Just they look at an opportunity and there's an emotional attachment to that thing that they're thinking about buying. And that can get you in trouble because there's logistics and there's a return and there's just different factors that you want to take into consideration. So it's always good to ask yourself, am I making an emotional decision? And also, the beauty of real estate is you have inspection periods. And if you get a house under contract, which pulls it off the market from other buyers, that's great. And then you have that time period to make sure that all your math was really mathing and that your exit strategies are there, and that you weren't just making an emotional decision. Because man, it is easy to fall in love with a beautiful home or a cool neighborhood or something that reminds you of your childhood and make a decision that maybe you didn't intend to make. So that decision, they get excited about whatever that investment is. I see it happen in partnerships as well, whether it's agents partnering together or an agent partnering with a client, or I see a lot of people who are not in the real estate industry for a career, and they're finding partners outside in the industry to invest alongside. And they get excited about what they know about the person, or they get excited because the person seems successful, but they don't slow down and make sure, again, that decision is not just emotional and that it's actually right for their season and for what they're walking through. They buy the investment house because everybody else is doing it, right? Her conversation with me today was like, hey, isn't this what I'm supposed to do? I can't tell you. And I know we've had this conversation before, but I've made decisions along the way that I made because I was told that was the next best step. But it maybe wasn't the next best step for me. So really knowing that you're making the decision because you've already considered the factors and it works right for you in your season, whether it's a partnership, whether it's an investment opportunity, whether it's investing with a partner, don't do it because somebody else told you that's the next thing to do. Do it because it makes sense for the goals that you have in the future and the path that you're on. They say yes to the opportunity often because it sounds good. But here's the thing about wealth building and business building and partnership. It's not built on feelings, it's built on facts. And so giving yourself an opportunity to step back, even if you tie it up with an emotional trigger that's like, yep, I want that, make sure that the contract is not permanent and that you have an exit strategy from the contract and a window of opportunity that gives you some time to investigate, some time to explore and run the numbers, some time to make sure that the way you were feeling emotionally is still the way that you're feeling going forward on this particular thing that you're going in on this particular business that you're investing in. Maybe it's a residential property, maybe it's a multifamily, just making sure that it's right for you. One of the things that we've been really considering, and I've slowed myself down to make a decision on, is our kids are really into horses and rodeo, and they just love that lifestyle. And the return on horse boarding facilities can be quite good if they're systematic and run well and in good locations. So we have been looking at a horse boarding facility as another potential investment for our family down the future because it fits our world and it gives our kids an opportunity to work and, create job skills and things there. And it provides another cash flowing asset for us. And I jokingly say, horses don't talk back the way that people talk back. So they would make a great tenant. But in all reality, just slowing it down and making sure that it's right for us in this time, that we have the time, the energy, the skills, I said time, energy, TERMS. I'm totally butchering this. Time, energy, money, and then the sanity, right? And the skills. I think it's sanity and skills. We should use that S for that. But because wealth isn't built on feelings, it's built on facts. So before I know I'm making that decision, I slow myself down and I ask myself, what's the actual return? Here's the thing about emotional decisions. And here's the thing about sales, and not knocking salespeople because I've been selling real estate my entire life, but sales people, no matter what they're selling, are trained to get you emotional and get you to make decisions on emotion. You walk into a car dealership, you fall in love with the car. If they can get you to sign there, they have a lot better chance of getting out the door and making income. So you have to remember that sometimes the way the picture is presented may or may not have the exact return that you're seeing. So you might do the math in your head really quickly and say, yeah, this looks good. This looks like it's going to make sense. They might share with you the math and their numbers. You need to go double check the math because just because they said it doesn't make it a fact. And going back and looking at numbers, making sure that your emotions didn't lie, that their generalizations weren't a little bit fluffy, right? You want to make sure that it is the actual return and that you know the actual math, the real math, not the math you're being told, not the math you're feeling in your head when you're making an emotional decision. Then you want to ask yourself, what's my risk? Like, if this doesn't go well, what's the worst thing that could happen? And when we bought that mobile home park, the risk of taking a shot at it and it not, the conversation not going well with the seller was that I might lose the opportunity to buy the park. I might lose the opportunity to sell the park and to make a commission as an agent. But it was worth the risk to me because the benefit of that person saying yes to that opportunity far, far outweighed the risk. I was willing to lose a commission if it blessed my family for the rest of their lives. So what is my risk? And then the question is do you have an exit strategy? When we went into the mobile home park or when, actually several different things. I was driving around the neighborhood yesterday, taking care of a listing and a client, and we owned a property that I went into. It was going to cash flow well. The numbers looked good. But after a season of, I think we owned it for probably 5 to 7 years. I didn't want to own it anymore. It was just, we had learned investing. We had more revenue and we had more income to invest with. It was wonderful for a season, for getting started, for learning, and it wasn't something that I wanted to own anymore. And so what was my exit strategy? Well, I could sell it. That's always an exit strategy, but things can happen. The market can change, prices could drop. You might have to put a tenant in it until the prices go back up. So just making sure you have another exit strategy. If today's episode helped you to think differently about money, read the Family Banking Blueprint. It'll walk you through the exact framework that we use to build your family's wealth. And remember, faith first, family always, and don't forget to get some assets. We talked a little bit the other day about the park model that we're trying out as an Airbnb. Not something I would have thought of for an Airbnb, really. And yet it's working really well. But we have an exit strategy. We can rent it long term. We can sell it on a seller finance note and make interest off of the note that we sell the house on, plus lot rent. So we have some different exit strategies if, in fact, we find out we don't want to own that as an Airbnb. So another question is, what happens if everything goes right? That was a question that I asked myself when we were looking at making the offer on the mobile home park. And the reason I asked myself that question was I was thinking of all the doom and gloom, like, oh my gosh, what if? Oh my, and I was doubting myself. And when I changed the question to what happens if everything goes right, I was like, gee, my kids' college could be paid for. This would be a huge contributor to my retirement and us being able to travel and enjoy and not have to work so long. This could be something that we could update and upgrade and make it cash flow way double, triple, quadruple what it's bringing in now. If we wanted to and didn't want to own it anymore, we could have improved it so much that we could sell it for a good amount of money in the future. So those were all the things that could go right. And then I asked myself, what happens if it goes wrong? And again, if it went wrong, we paid a good price for it. So we made sure the math made sense because we needed exit strategies. If it goes wrong, if it's messier than I thought, if it's, these are old manufactured homes. These are old mobile homes that are falling apart. They have water leaks. They're a little bit of a nightmare in some instances to other people looking at the same opportunity. Might not be right for everybody. For me, I know how to handle those things. I've done those things for years. And for me, I was willing to take the risk because the reward far outweighed the risk. And so what happens if everything goes wrong is the other question you ask yourself. And then you ask yourself, can I live with it, right? If everything went wrong, what's the worst case scenario and can you live with it? What does it cost me in time, energy, and opportunity? We talked about terms, right? As you're looking at there will always be opportunities. There's never a shortage of opportunities ever. So as I was talking to my girlfriend today and I was sharing with her, you don't need to feel bad about not being on the hustle to go find investments right now. You just need to be open that if they come up, that you'll be curious about them and that you might consider them, because there might be a season where you stumble into an investment and you're like, hey, wait a second, this would be really cool. Maybe I should consider this. So never say never. Don't shut them off, but it's okay to slow down this season. And just to her, what it was costing her in her mind was it was going to cost her time, it was going to cost her energy, and it was going to cost her money. And right now she had just gotten herself to a place in a season where she was like, I can breathe and I can feel safe and feel confident with where we've gotten ourselves financially. And so you do have to ask yourself, is now a season that you are willing to give up time, energy, whatever it is that it's going to cost you? You have to ask yourself that, because every opportunity is not right for you. I see a lot of opportunities come up and I'm a constant opportunity shopper. And I have to tell myself, Kristen, just because it's an opportunity and the numbers look good, or just because it's an opportunity and it could work for somebody, doesn't mean it should work for you right now in this season. Slow down, focus on what you're already focused on, and keep moving. There will be another opportunity. And I think that's important because so often we treat investment opportunities as if they're the last one we're ever going to see. There's always going to be a housing market. There's always going to be a need for a roof over somebody's head. There's always going to be another opportunity. Now, saying that, I don't want to tell you just sit around and pass by really great opportunities, because you also may look back and say, I wish I would have. And that's okay too. Let that be a 5-minute funeral and then look forward and say, but I didn't, so what now? And go find yourself another opportunity. But when opportunities arise, you want to be able to act on them, but you also don't want to just take an opportunity because it looks good without removing the emotion, making sure it's right for you in the season, and doing the real math. Good intentions don't pay bills, right? Excitement doesn't create passive income. Hope is not a financial strategy. I I see so many people just get excited about the latest trend with investing and go do that thing without considering these things. Real math matters because the decisions you make today affect your ability to provide for your family tomorrow. And this is what she was considering. And this is what stops me at times is like, okay, I would have to take that opportunity. I'd have to put this opportunity on hold, or I'd have to go borrow over here and get myself in debt further in order to take on this opportunity. So there's really some things that you need to consider and slow yourself down. They affect your ability to buy back your time. Sometimes they do, right? Sometimes you're sacrificing for a season and you're losing time in order to take advantage of that opportunity. So, but on the flip side, if it's a great opportunity and it fits your season, they also buy back your time, right? Like in this mobile home park operation that we've got going, we can put a park manager there and we don't have to use our time and exchange our time for that income coming in. And so there are also lots of instances where they give you back time. They affect your ability to give generously. If you are taking wrong opportunities and you're tying money up on things that don't work for you and your goals because you're getting emotional and you're buying things or partnering and moving forward on things emotionally with excitement and not actually considering how they fit in your goals and your plan, you're actually robbing yourself of the ability to give, of the ability to take advantage of other opportunities. So you've got to be careful when you feel those emotions getting in the way of these decisions. They affect your ability to steward God's money well. Just like if you create great passive income, you can bless people and steward God's money well. If you sit on it and you make the decision never to invest, you're doing harm because you're not stewarding God's money. You're not multiplying it. You're not going out and blessing others. And that's why he gave it to you in the first place. So it works both ways. Be careful, be mindful, be strategic, have a plan, do the math, take the emotion out of it, but do go grow God's money and do go bless people and give them opportunities. I think of something that always stands out to me is a relationship we bumped into when we were kids where we wouldn't have had the ability to build business and invite other people to be employed and provide jobs had this one human not generated enough passive income that she could fund our business startups. And I think what a cool thing that she was able to reach out to strangers, help fund a business startup, which then blessed many other people through the years by providing them job opportunities, teaching them investment strategies, just really neat things. So they also affect your ability to steward God's money well. You want to have it, you want to grow it, you want to be able to steward it well, which means you got to take the emotion out of it. You got to make sure you're making sound decisions. You got to be not just upgrading your lifestyle every time you make more, because you'll always be broke and living paycheck to paycheck. You've got to create a gap. You've got to create a delta. There's got to be money to work with to go steward it. I believe God calls us to be faithful stewards, and faithful stewardship requires wisdom, right? This is wisdom, not wishful thinking. Wishful thinking just gets us excited and gets us in trouble, and then we don't know how it's going to turn out. It causes stress. So make sure you're running the numbers, asking the hard questions, look beyond just the sales pitch of whoever's showing you the product or the opportunity. I got myself into some opportunities over the years that, oh my gosh, I said yes because of the excitement and because of the, I would say, reputation, or that's not the right word, experience of the partnership. And I didn't slow down to think, where am I at in my life? Is this right for the season? Do I trust this human? And all that happens when you don't slow down and take the time is you end up having to take the time to unwind it down the road. And it's a lot messier down the road than just walking away to begin with. So don't make emotional decisions based on emotional math. Remember, bad that feel good are still bad deals, right? Eventually, they're not going to feel good. At the moment, they might. The Ferrari that you bought, just kidding. They might feel good at the moment, but they don't necessarily feel good later. And you're going to have to deal with them at some point. Don't make decisions based on the emotional math. Do the real math. Your family, your future, and the people that you're called to bless need you to be mindful and to steward this money well and to ask yourself these questions as you're going forward. A strong thing to be thinking about, a question for you as I finish out this episode that I want you to think about was, what is a financial decision that maybe you've made that emotionally it looked really good, and then you turned around and it didn't hold up when you did the math? Hopefully you said no and you opted out then, but maybe you didn't opt out until later and then you had to unwind the mess. Have you ever been there? Have you ever done that? Well, hopefully this is valuable to you and it's got you thinking. And I'm excited to talk to you next week. And between now and then, go work on learning and getting some assets. Take care. Be blessed. All right, friends, that's it for today. But remember, faith first, family always, and don't forget to get some assets. I'll see you next time.